we wouldn't be able to be effective. They know the language, they know the culture, and they are so gentle and kind in how they get us to do what we need to do. You know, there's no shaking their fingers, you can't do that. It's like, gently, do you think it would be better to do this, or wouldn't you like to do this? So my team this year was just absolutely wonderful. And this is our medical team. That's Anne, again, she's the social worker who would go out, find the homes we should go to, make sure there's follow-up. And I tell you, they work very well. Already, she's emailed me to give me some follow-up on some of the people that we saw. That's Allison Litzinger, that's Autumn, myself. Millicent is a member of the church there in Bundaney, one of the worship leaders, and at the end is Frances, the social work, the RN. But going back to Millicent, she's a little quiet lady, hardly said very much because she doesn't speak much English when we're going out to the homes. When we went to church on Sunday, the woman can really praise. She was really singing and praying and praising. So it was kind of different. It was interesting to see her in the two different roles. She had a little girl who had been having lots of fevers. The girl was about 13 months old, and we saw her, and through Frances, we were able to detect that her symptoms went along with malaria. Now, if you do any research or you travel to Nairobi, you're told you don't need to get, don't need to take malaria medicine because Nairobi's altitude is too high to let the mosquitoes that bring malaria be a problem there. But nobody cares about Mathari. There's no plumbing, there's, sewage is just all around. Water stays stagnant for long periods of time. So we sent Millicent with her baby to get tested at a nearby hospital, and her little baby has malaria. So it's to let you know that, the Kenyans don't really even know what's going on in Mathari. This is out at the boarding school Jaska. This is Esther. Esther was a little girl who in 2007 would come by my office at the end of every day, and she said she wanted to be a doctor. And so she would come by, and every day I would teach her a name of an instrument, like a stethoscope or a Doppler. And just before we left in 2007, she wrote me this beautiful letter of how she wasn't going to forget those words. So every time I've gone back since, I see Esther. And so now Esther is an 8th grader. And Esther, when I asked Esther what are her plans for next year, she wants to do well on her government exam because she wants to go to the best high school for girls in Kenya. So I said, okay, that's fine, but you're just going to be happy to get into high school, right? She said, no, I want to go to the best high school in Kenya. And then I said, what about university? When you go to university, you want to go to the University of Nairobi or Kenyatta University? She said, oh, no, 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 no. She said, I want to go to Oxford, as in England. And I said, but Esther, why Oxford? She goes, because my teachers say Oxford is the very best school in the world. And I said, what about schools like Harvard and Princeton? And she said, oh, no, 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 it must be Oxford. So it's more evidence to how Mary Kamau's dream and the work of all the missionaries, all the supporting churches have brought hope. And, it gives these kids something to have ambition for, something to long for. So.
I served on the red team, and Dave forgot to mention my team lead, which was Doris Dixon from this class. Oh, and yeah. We were on the hospice team, but because Sue also served on hospice, I chose to do an overview to kind of show you, some of it you've already seen, of what Eastside was doing there today through the 2010 team and what's ongoing and the changes at Eastside, which is you, all of you, because remember, as Jean told you last week, 15 cents of every dollar you give to this church goes to outreach, whether it's local or global, and you're making a difference there. So my first picture is the start of the beginning. This is our first day of service, And we are greeted, Eastside is greeted both in the day at Joska and this is at Pingani with a welcome ceremony. And you pull up and you saw that 4-story building. Kids are on the walkways there watching for us. You hear the music, you hear the singing going on, the excitement, and you can't wait to be a part of this celebration. I did a blog, when we got to Joska and had the welcome ceremony there, they have signs that say welcome Eastside and everything. In Joska there was one that said, welcome home Eastside. This is the part I'll cry on. And I wrote a blog that said a family reunion because that's what it really is. Eastside is family to these people and they are family to us. And Tammy has meetings with the Kenyan partners while we're there. Things are continually changing while you're on the field. We're taught to be flexible. And they're also doing long-range planning. And she learned something this year that she never even knew. And that is that Eastside is the only teams that they do the welcome and farewell ceremonies for. We assume they did them for everybody, but it's only for Eastside. That's how close we are to Mathari. This next picture is, this is our main goal. This is what we're there for. This is, and I'm so glad that someone got a picture because at the end of every time one of our team would preach, and we had 5 different preachers, they would mention that their team was there and give us a cue to hold up our evangel cubes. And that's what you see us doing. You have to look to the back here because we always put them forward to see. And then we're standing all around, usually in a half circle or sometimes a circle, depending upon the area that we're in that particular psalm. And we hold up the cubes and they're directed to come find us. Of course, we go searching them out too. And that's what we're there for most of all. This is, of course, child sponsorship. As you all know, I have a strong involvement in that. And in the day schools, the children are given, for your sponsorship, they're given a uniform. Your sponsorship pays for those uniforms. They're given 2 meals a day because they go home at night. They're given 2 glasses of milk, and this is our little red sweaters. And at the end of the day, the last thing that they do is bring the glasses out and give them their milk before they go home. Now in Joska, everything is provided for them because it's a boarding school and they live there, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But you're making a huge difference. You've already seen the socks. This is our, Doris is my other teammate. We were on hospice on the red team, and this is Nathan David, who you heard speak recently. And one of my main works was dependent because this is the hardest thing I've ever done, emotionally and physically, because I was in Kosovo with those hills. And let me tell you, this body has trouble with those hills. And I was totally dependent upon God and my teammates. And this young man helped me up and down so many hills. And you have no idea how many times I prayed up and down those hills. But, and this is a young man that we visited that had HIV, and we're giving him one of the socks. And those socks, by the way, were done by the Eastside children and teenagers. And they had little cards that they had prepared that we would tie on each morning. And the hospice and the medical teams took those out and gave those out. And they had soap and toothbrushes and toothpaste and some candy and some Band-Aids and yeah, right, I can't think of everything. But anyway, and at the toe of the sock was the other sock, so they had a fresh pair of socks. And this is my team lead, Doris, and with one of the bags of food that actually I had asked Rebecca. This is our Kenyan team lead there, Rebecca, over here. I can't get the word. Okay, and this is Florence that we're visiting for the second time because Rebecca said we won't take the food bags out the first time because all of Kosovo will be bedridden and want us to come see them the next day. So it would be on our second or our third visit because we did keep going back to the families. And this is the lady who cried when she first met us, just started to sob as we're shaking her hands because she felt it was a miracle that we'd come to visit her. She'd never met a white person in her life. And she just sobbed because she knew it was a miracle. Here's the other tears. And I got to pray with her to accept Jesus. So that was a real blessing.